All right. Well, my name is Will Hawkins. I am doing this interview with my son Tristan Hawkins, and I'm a physician assistant currently working between numerous hospital systems. I work between the Rex Hospital, UNC hospitals. I work with Wake Med Hospital Systems, Johnson Memorial Hospital Systems as well. And I am, in particular, my discipline is surgery. I work with numerous surgical cases of all various types, that being orthopedic, general, bariatric, gynecological, oncological, urogyn, and urology. So lots of different disciplines in which I work.
All right. Can you describe one of your typical work days?
Majority of my days, just about every day, is spent doing surgeries. We contract with various surgeons of various disciplines around the greater Raleigh area and into Johnston County, as well as into the Alamance area. Pretty much I am first assist in the surgeries. One day I could be doing general surgeries, whether that be hernia repair, colectomy. The next day I could be doing a knee replacement. The day after that I could be doing uterine cancer removal. So it varies on the day in particular.
What skills are required in your position on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, wow. Numerous. Of course, familiarization with the anatomy of the human body is paramount. You have to have that. You have to know what you're looking at in live tissue form, not just in textbook form. And you need to know the intricacies of those tissues. For example, how you grab a ileum versus a jejunum in the small bowel. You can easily tear that, causing complications to a case, infections, possible death to the patient. It's just imperative that you know your anatomy and have the experience in dealing with those tissues of whatever particular type of surgery you're doing, so as not to cause further harm. You have to have the ability to work well with others as part of a surgical team. Know what a particular surgeon or your nurses or your OR techs are capable of, what they're not capable of. Know what their likes, dislikes are, their approach to things. It will vary between surgeons, though the ultimate outcome tends to be the same. Folks have different ways of getting there, and so me working with numerous individuals, you have to kind of be flexible and know that one person may do it this way, another may do it that way, and know how to adjust for that. Just to name a few.
What parts of your job do you find most challenging?
Oh, wow. Most challenging is, of course, keeping up with the schedule. We tend to be rather busy, which is good. But we've made, an impression with numerous prominent surgeons around the area, and you need to meet those challenges. The hours can be very early, working very late at times, of course. You've got to be flexible with that. Challenging with turnarounds in the hospital, as far as your work day is based on the speed of the surgical team getting patients in and out of the OR. Right now, of course, with the COVID thing going on here in the country, it has affected surgery greatly. Big problem we're having right now, of course, a big challenge we're having in the hospitals is the lack of staff. We have numerous members that are sick, have tested positive, need to go into quarantine, have family members that are positive that they need to stay home and take care of. Other things associated with COVID that has caused not so much a shortage of beds within the hospital systems I work in, but really has affected the number of staff members, and that's really what we're facing in the greater Raleigh area. Is we have beds available, we just don't have nurses, mid-level practitioners, technicians, and doctors to treat, to man those beds, so to speak. So challenges can vary from day to day. It can vary depending on the month. For example, December tends to be a very busy month for us due to insurance reasons. Folks having met their deductibles throughout the year, and whatever elective surgeries they've decided to schedule, they tend to put around December because they have to get it done before the year's end. But it took them all year long to meet their deductible so that they're not coming out of pocket with a great amount of money to have whatever respective surgery done that they need.
What do you find most enjoyable with your job?
Most enjoyable, I will say, is working with the surgeons and the staff members that I get to work with. I do enjoy the vast majority of those that I work with. Also, along those lines, as I do enjoy, especially with my cancer patients, knowing that what we're doing is extending the quality of life, the longevity of life, or possibly completely saving a life. And I find that very rewarding.
What would you say the biggest negative to your job is?
The biggest negative is you have to be willing to forego the personal things in your life that are important to you at times. Sick people don't get to pick when they get sick. They don't get to pick how severe their sickness is. And when they need help, they need help. And a lot of times your schedule is dictated by that necessity for help. So you have to be prepared in medicine to maybe miss something that's important to you, that your children are doing, that your wife or family members are doing, maybe missing visits with friends, functions, social functions that you may want to do, and even when you're doing call a weekend that you give up every so often, however frequent your call is, a weekend that most folks are looking forward to having at home or with friends, you may not have. You're working that weekend, and that sometimes can fall at very inopportune moments, and whether that be holidays, birthdays, or special events with those people in your lives, sometimes you're not able to be there for that, and that is probably, I would say, the most challenging thing for me.
How many hours do you work in a typical week?
Typically, you're looking at 12-hour day, 5 days a week, but that's not counting if you have a call that night, which you could very well be answering a phone or having to go in for an emergent surgery. But on average, I would say somewhere between 50 to 60 hours a week. The extreme end of things, depending on your busy season, like I said, December, there can be weeks where you're working 80 to 90 hours a week easily, when you count in your call hours, your weekend hours, or just the length added on to the day for doing it.
Are there special perks to your career area?
Certainly. I number one, the biggest perk in medicine is that it is recession proof for the most part. When you look at major events in a society like we've experienced here with COVID, unfortunately, many folks that had very good careers, very good paying jobs, unfortunately were let go. My wife being one of those, having to reinvent themselves, come up with career opportunities, create opportunities for themselves. And not to say that medicine was not affected, especially in the surgical field. We actually had a moratorium or a slowdown or for a period of time there that we weren't doing elective surgeries, which actually affected our business for a short term, but that quickly rebounded. Overall, where the economy is good, there's a demand for healthcare providers. If the economy is bad, there's still a demand for healthcare providers. And so the biggest perk is probably the job security with it. Certainly there's secondary perks to it. The pay is good, especially if you're a practitioner level or greater. I still think that there's a great sense of honor in the profession, in knowing that you are doing something that benefits others' lives, so that you have the satisfaction of, if you're kind of an altruistic person and you want to do good in the world, you get that as part of your career. And there's a certain social respect, I think, that goes along with folks that are involved with medicine, whether that be nurse, PA, doctor, nurse practitioner, anesthetist, all these kind of things that are out there. So I think you kind of get, a little sense of self-satisfaction out of doing this job as well.
Which seasons of the year are the toughest in your job?
Certainly December is always a tough month for us at the end of the year, for reasons that I talked about earlier, being that December tends to be a very high volume month for surgeries because, again, folks have met their deductibles, and for a hernia, or whether it's weight loss surgery, or they have other medical conditions that they've kind of waited to have, tends to be around November, December. And of course, this being my favorite holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, it certainly can affect my ability to be home with my family during these times. So it tends to be a little busier. But again, that is part of the job, and that's what you need to be prepared to face in this line of work.
Are too many or too few people entering this profession?
Oh, I would say probably when I started well over 12 years ago, there were probably too few. Now I would think there's probably, I guess supply and demand certainly applies to medical practitioners as well. Certainly, what the market can bear is a factor in this. But I will say that I've seen a lot of influx in. Lots of colleges have started PA programs, really to get the fast road to being called the university, because now you have a graduate level program out there. And so I've seen a lot of programs created in various colleges and smaller universities to kind of ramp up their status in the landscape. And I can't say that all of them are necessarily doing it the right way, to be honest. I do notice quality differences between various programs. So in a way, maybe too many, maybe a little too many. I still would like us to be very careful about the quality of product that we're putting out there in this line of work. So I think we probably could do with a few less of the programs that we've had kind of rear their heads up in recent years.
Why do you think people leave this field of work?
Probably the biggest reason, two reasons. I will say overall there can be a burnout factor with this. Understand that in this line of work, especially when you're talking about life-saving surgeries, fighting cancer, here recently with the COVID, be prepared to look death in the face. You're going to lose people. And the pace can be rather fast for many people, and so we experience in the business what we call burnout. Same as you see on police forces, firefighting, many lines of work where folks and these soldiers, even me being a former soldier, I saw it even in the Army. Too many deployments, too many combat engagements. It is the same in medicine. It tends to be a very fast-paced, high stress kind of situation. Now there are people that are geared for that, and it's ideal for. But with some folks, initially they can deal with it, but after years of doing it, it can start to weigh on you. When you talk about the time it takes away from your family and things that you want to do on a personal level, year after year of missing certain things, it certainly can take its toll. And that often is a reason for folks that leave the profession. I've seen numerous folks leave medicine to go into medical sales, to still be affiliated with it and be able to use that experience that they had in the field to help them with whatever medical sales job they take. But there tends to be this attitude that it's kind of a place where folks with burnout go. Not all is that. A lot of folks go directly into sales and develop that background for it. Other folks find less stressful lines of work out of it. For example, when you work in a trauma ward, you work in the emergency rooms, you're working the surgical realm. Maybe you go to another line of work that affords a better quality of life. So do they leave the field of medicine? Not necessarily. Do they go to another discipline of medicine? Certainly. We see that quite a bit. But I would say the biggest thing is the burnout. Let me add another thing to that. Other folks too. A lot of my female colleagues, a lot of times, they start out. They like the action. They like that, and they decide to start a family, and that certainly can change your priorities. Where I really want to be a mom. I'm not so sure I want to be a surgical team member anymore, and that they decide to get out of medicine altogether, or maybe go to part-time in something a little more user-friendly with the schedule. So that I've also seen be a root of that as well. So.
All right, that was all my questions. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate the interview.